and good afternoon, everyone. I am Vince Ricciuti from the Condrain Group, and I am your new president of the GTSWCA. As the first order of business, I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Ben Ruggieri for his dedication to this industry over the last 2 years. Ben is certainly correct that 2020 was a very disruptive year for the company and our membership and to the associations of all you guys. And our president, particularly over the last year, Ben has helped steer the association through a lot of uncertainty and change. Ben, it was not your standard term as GTSWCA president, and we really appreciate having Ben be so adaptable to the role we needed him to be and play. So Ben, thank you for your dedication to the industry. Ben, on a personal note, I wanted to thank you for all your time and effort spent with me throughout the last 2 years. I learned a lot and is greatly appreciated. Thank you. So this is going to be an exciting opportunity for me, and I appreciate the confidence that the GTSWCA board members have in me to take on this role as chair of the board. It is an important role, which I think is especially highlighted over this last year, as Ben noted previously. It is my intention to take an active role over the next 2 years to help guide the association through some changes that are going to help keep us active and relevant. I wanted to take time this afternoon to speak to you all about 2 things that our associations are going to be focusing on. The first thing I would like to speak about is how we're going to stay in touch with our members. We have tended to focus on traditional means to reach out to our members over the years, relying on events as touch points and our weekly news bulletins to keep everyone up to date on issues affecting the industry. But this pandemic has upset the process, especially given that we have not been able to host an event for over a year now. We know that everyone is getting slammed with emails about new things they need to be concerned about, and it's all becoming a bit too much. There's simply too much information coming at you, and there's not enough time to read them all. So we are rethinking how we should do this. Let us give you the most critical, important issues to make certain you know about them and keep you up to date. We're first going to do this in a few ways. First, we're going to increase our presence on social media to supplement the other work we are doing. We're going to work along with the OSWCA to jointly publish more video content because they've been doing some interesting work in this space. Our intent here is to be taking big, complex issues and make them more easy to understand, to carve them down into little bite-sized chunks so that you can truly understand these things are important and how they're going to impact you. Thinking things like excess soils, the Construction Act, or provincial funding. And we're also going to be involved in other platforms to keep our members informed in real time about changes that are going to happen and impact you. We're also going to create more resource guides on our most critical issues. We find that having a reference document to go back to helps when there are big process changes. And we're also committed to always keeping improving on how we get you this information into your hands. The second thing I wanted to speak about is the GTSWCA's accreditation. Right now, the association negotiates the collective agreement with Local 183 and 793 for the sewer and water main sector in Toronto and Simcoe County. While we don't negotiate the agreements for the areas to the east, the areas between Oshawa, Cobourg, and Peterborough, the contractors that are signatory to the GTSWCA agreements is required to pay our GTA rates when they work in these areas. This is because we have something called the recognition clause in our agreement. This means that we recognize that if you work in these areas, they still fall under the jurisdiction of our agreement. The problem now we're now coming into is more and more contractors under our agreement are working out east, but they have to compete against local companies that do not have to pay our rates. So the local companies have a competitive advantage against the GTSWCA members. What we'd like to do here is expand our accreditation order to cover these areas. We're proposing to do this for 3 reasons. Number 1, we want to even the playing field out there for our members. We want to make sure when you're working and competing for work in Oshawa or Peterborough, that you're doing so against companies that are eventually going to pay the same rates that you do. Number 2, we want to give you the opportunity to hire local workers for a reduced rate, similarly to how our agreement works in Simcoe County. This would not apply in Oshawa, but for the areas north and east of Oshawa, it would. It's not a tremendous change, but it's again an attempt to help you compete locally. And number three, we want to protect our association's bargaining rights. This one's a bit more abstract of a concept, but what it boils down to is to this. If you're signed with the GTSWCA agreement, you must follow the rules set out in our agreement. And when you're working in Oshawa and beyond, other companies do not have to follow these same rules. By expanding our accreditation, this would make it so that everyone is working off the same set of rules. Ultimately, this comes down to fairness. We want to eventually even the playing field, particularly since there's a lot of work and growth and restoration work planned for the areas over the next 2 decades. We'll be reaching out to you all about this over the next several months as we work through the details, but certainly we also encourage you all to reach out to us if you have any questions, concerns, or ideas about this. This will be a big focus of our association over the next year as we head into a final year of our current collective agreement. The post-COVID world is hopefully going to come to an end in short order. Changes are going to come fast and furious. We expect a federal election to come before the year is out, and there are a little over a year away from the next provincial and municipal elections in 2022. So the next 12 months are going to be critical as we set up for the medium-term outlook for our association and our organization. I want to close by thanking all of our board members for their involvement this last year. It was important to keep our organization on track and remaining relevant and impactful and cost-effective. It was not always a pleasant process, as a lot of tough decisions needed to be made, when a big time commitment was also required from your own businesses that also needed more attention more than ever before. So on behalf of the industry, thank you. We could not have come through all of this without all of you. I look forward to being the president, and I appreciate your confidence in me to lead the organization going into such a pivotal and changing time. Keep safe, everyone, and we really look forward to seeing you all in person again. So thank you. I would like now to call on for our next agenda items is the activity report. For this year's activity report, Mr. Claudio Vinelli will provide the health and safety report, and Mr. Patrick McManus will provide the association report. I now turn it over to Mr. Claudio Vinelli.